The story begins with a boy having a distinct and strange dream as he visits a place called Earth, where a person was playing an RPG for their amusement for hundreds and thousands of hours. But he doesn't know what RPG actually means, as it is some information that popped inside his head while believing that it must be some form of entertainment he didn't understand. The person named Yobanmin was reacting as he continued to die in-game because of a landmine and a poison arrow the previous time for being present in the front line acting like an idiot. This happened countless times as he couldn't even stop explaining the ways he died in the game for hundreds of variations which doesn't even stop getting discussed. His friends couldn't help but wonder how someone could face all these one at a time, but Yobanmin believed that it was only possible because it was a game where people were given an insane amount of freedom. Demon War 3. Dungeon City Sheetan's Deep Darkness is the name of the game, and not only that, but also the boy that was talking about his dream is indeed the side character Yobanmin was excited to save. The controversy created around the character named Evan de Sheetan was so interesting that led to people opening fan clubs because the death scenes appealed to a niche group of people. Yobanmin was excited to keep Evan de Sheetan alive since he keeps on dying just like he does in-game, while the real Evan de Sheetan was looking at him going insane seeing his own story getting played in a game. Suddenly, Evan wakes up from his nightmare as the maids run up to his bedroom, but he is having a hard time recognizing himself. It was revealed that Yobanmin transmigrated as Evan de Sheetan, but he still has the memories of his previous life as they have combined into one. He turned into a 9-year-old kid living in the same place in the game that he used to enjoy playing, Demon War 3 City. He was already worried about being the extra who always died a pitiful death his whole life, but he wasn't ready to accept his fate as he got ready to change his fate. The next morning, Yobanmin begins by waking up to another nightmare as he sees some evil voice calling for him, while stabbing him with a sword reminding him that his fate will always be death. Even though he was relieved to realize that it was just a dream, he could guess the reason might be because he awakened with the memories of his past life. His current body may be 9 years old, but it is unfamiliarly weak to him considering the facts. Right now, he isn't the Yobanmin from Earth whom his friends would communicate with, but he is Evan de Sheetan who lives in a dungeon city and going to die a pitiful death just like in the game. Our protagonist tries to be optimistic and hopes that there will be some distinct differences between the game and reality, but knowing the similarity between the both of them was quite unbelievable. He tries to calm himself down and think of a plan to get out of his misery since he has the memories of a 29-year-old living as Yobanmin. He quickly starts gathering and writing up all the information that he has from his old self, and since he has been playing the game since the first sequel in his childhood, the current world that he is in right now, the third one was released when he started studying in the university. But the problem was that Yobanmin was able to get countless different endings depending on the progress and storyline, except for the one where Evan de Sheetan is alive. That was why he started finding out how he could save Evan in the end, but even after playing so diligently, he still couldn't find an answer on how to reach his goal. Moreover, there are 46 endings where he gets stabbed by a girl, which could explain how insane the producers could get, let alone the other deaths. The reason for his death keeps on piling up, and the more he keeps on realizing that there might be no way to get out of the trap of death. Then he remembers that the last time when he played the game, he saved Evan de Sheetan till the boss battle, which meant he stayed alive until the very end. Suddenly, Evan remembers the maid named Mabel who would kill him later in the game out of jealousy, which gets him horrified thinking that death waits for him even in his own mansion. Even though he knows that he wasn't able to find a good ending for Evan in his previous life, he plans on becoming an extra who won't die. The world of Demon War 3 is where mythical dungeons exist, and the lands are filled with fierce monsters. Knights are said to hone their swordsmanship skills to deal with them, while magicians use their magic spells, which are like a world inside a game. And in such a world, Evan is worried about how to prevent himself from dying and begins thinking about ranks, mana, and warriors, which may even lead him to enter dungeons. But while he was busy in his thoughts, Mabel reacts shockingly, saying that her mother will be distressed if he wishes to enter the dungeons. She focuses on the fact that as a noble he was going to enter dungeons anyway, but for that, he will need to receive training and grow stronger while he still can, as he is not allowed to go now. It seems that Evan planned to get the reaction out of Mabel out of curiosity, which proved the fact that the people of the world might have a flaw in their store of knowledge. Since he had already spent 9 years of his life as Evan, he knew it really well, and that is why he decided to confirm something like that through Mabel. He reached a conclusion that meant that the people of the world only think that one can only raise their levels by entering the dungeons and conquering each level of the dungeon, as they will continue to get awarded with blessings from God. When the dungeons first appeared, people were despaired because of the rumors that floated around, but when the treasures and growth came to light, the whole perception changed within days, which then later caused everyone to participate in the dungeon rushes, creating more chaos. Since the nobles were given the duty to manage the dungeons, Evan was pretty lucky considering that he was the successor of a marquis, as his father was none other than Marquis Solange Sheaton. In his previous life, when he was busy playing the game, he found some ways to grow stronger in Demon War, and he was about to use them in his new life. Suddenly, Mabel once again enters the room and reacts to his words, but decides to leave the topic off as Evan uses his charming and romantic glance at her. But he knew that he couldn't focus on using his romantic charms on her anymore, because it would soon lead her to choose the Yandir path, causing his death. Since he has already confirmed how people climb up levels, all he needed to do was to find a way to survive. Evan plans on meeting his father on his birthday after finding out that his birthday is in the next Wednesday, and the meeting is solely dedicated to proceeding with the Immortality Project. He needs Mirasol's necklace from his father, which is basically the first artifact that can be found within the Shurden dungeon and was given to their family. Since it is collecting dust and nobody knows how to use it, Evan wants to use it to save his own life. But there is a problem, as there is an event that activates the artifact, which is considered to be one of the top 5 death scenes for Evan. Just the moment he tried to activate the necklace to imbue mana and cast a spell, thousands of slimes attacked Evan without any reason, leading to his death. He only knew how to activate the spell, but not to stop it, and the tragedy was so infamous that it made the front page of the Demon War community channel. He also remembers the time when he played as the Make to save Evan, and he gained 1 XP from it, which could only indicate that it was a whole different level. The XP in-game is gained through repeating certain actions such as killing monsters and completing activities. The people of the Demon War world may have some misconceptions about it. XPs only level up one's existence. Evan remembers that in his as a player, he was able to examine his existence level, and it is so unlike the dungeon level since the growth is barely visible in the chart. Also, the growth only depends a lot on the talent, but at the same time, the existence levels have some peculiarity which makes it somehow limitless. While he was busy thinking about leveling up, Mabel comes up to him informing him that the Marquis is waiting for him, and he will get escorted by the head maid. On his way, he thinks of summoning the super weak slimes, which will be done by Mirasol's necklace's ability to summon a level 1 slime, meaning that he will be able to summon at least 100 of them. Even though the XP amount is near worthless, it meant he could slowly but steadily gather experience from a young age. Evan finally reaches the office of his father, and he gets called in as his father welcomes him almost instantly. Solange Shurden is concerned about his son's well-being, and all he wanted was the necklace for reaching the next step. Knowing that he is the beloved second son of Marquis, Evan decides to use his role and looks for his advantage to demand the necklace from his father. His father could instantly guess what he is asking about, and when it doesn't work by requesting, Evan uses the double-dose pleading attack, which made his father think that the heirloom has chosen its owner. Evan was quite happy to make his first target complete and leaves his father's room quite happily, but he wasn't sure how he was going to check his level. Then after going back to his room, Evan begins chanting the same chant to get registered as the artifact owner that once led to his death. After starting to use the necklace, Evan could sense the connection between him and the necklace, and he was able to create slimes in the palm of his hand. The slime that he created is the cutest one he has ever seen in his whole life, but even though it was cute, it still attacks with acid poison damage. He decides to smash the slime in between his hand and continues to do so in his everyday life from then on. Even though the slime training looked lovely and simple, it still used up quite some amount of mana just waiting to reach his body's limit, knowing the fact that one can face consequences by entering an abnormal state. He decides to keep the stamina and mana safely above 30% and train, as he could notice the changes in his speed, indicating that his existence level went up. After thinking for a while about the whole formation, his performance was only indicating that he might be a character whose stamina is better than his magic, which indicated that the game developers have fooled him into choosing the wrong profession. Evan plans on making a systematic daily schedule to grow himself, considering that his body has to get stronger first and make a world-building book. As he remembers everything after playing it countless times, to make sure his untimely death doesn't arrive, since already one red flag was hanging around in front of him in the mansion. He makes a full schedule to make his only purpose of training the body, which combines knowledge from the game and real life to analyze the future of his life. Meanwhile, Mabel is truly concerned about Evan, as he is changing his character constantly, and for the fact that he has stopped contacting her at all while focusing on something else. Even though the other servants consider obeying him as he is still their master, some of them can really see the changes reflected in him, as he has stopped pulling pranks like he used to. Not only that, but also, he has been acting more mature when it comes to exercising and everything, which gets Mabel more concerned about his well-being. Then suddenly another butler comes inside the kitchen with the news of Evan weighing a heavy and big boulder, which gets Mabel more concerned about his mental state as she keeps on crying for him. Then Evan is seen having tea and snacks with his beautiful mother Radindi, Sheridan, who even looks too young to be married. The rumor about the character was that the graphics designer ran away in the middle of her development. Their discussion leads him to the conversation of being a mage, but when he claims that he wants to chase his own dreams, his mother doesn't disagree with him at all and tries to be supportive, as his nobility lessons will finally begin 1 year later. Evan couldn't help but wonder how he had forgotten about something important like that, which would eventually lead to his death, as he had already finished the game countless times. After going back to his home, he focuses on finding the character that will be suitable for his immortal project number 2, and remembers the Silent Knight, who is one of the strongest characters in Demon War 3 and second to the protagonist. He suddenly goes into the kitchen with the hope of going shopping with Mabel, and she still couldn't find out what he really meant by saying the weird sentence in their previous meeting. When Mabel was curious about their venture to the city for shopping, Evan explained that they were going to the slave market to purchase someone.